Hello everyone, this is day 46 in Lent, and today this is the day just prior to Maundy Thursday. And there are so many aspects about Jesus' last days that we can dwell on, but today I would like to dwell on the woman who anointed Jesus. The Gospels, all four of them, tell us that Jesus was at the house of Simon, a leper who was cleansed, who was healed. Maybe he was part of Jesus' numerous healing touches that he did throughout the countryside. We do not know, but we do know that this was a man of wealth, of influence, and the people gathered at this house were not the common crowd that we normally see Jesus with. This was an influential gathering of men, and they are in this house, and suddenly you have a woman at the door. She is, by all standards, she is in a very negative position, as in she is a woman who is going to enter into the presence that is exclusively designed for men, and she is unsure of what to do. So she just stands at the door and she looks around. I mean, there are theories that she was a very sinful person. Maybe she was. And she, in her uncleanliness, she looks around. She sees men, she sees a whole society who is going to point fingers at her, who have been condemning her, who have been criticizing her. And at that point of time, she sees the face of Jesus. And then everything else takes a back seat, and she goes on to Jesus. Now, in the Gospel according to St. John chapter 12, verses 1 to 6, I will read from verse 3. Then Mary took about a pint of pure nard, an expensive perfume. She poured it on Jesus' feet and wiped his feet with her hair. And the house was filled with the fragrance of the perfume. Now, the Bible tells us that this woman was Mary, the sister of Lazarus, who was raised from the dead. And she came to Jesus, and she came to Jesus not simply, she didn't come to Jesus just like that. She came prepared. In her hands was a bowl of very expensive perfume, a bottle of very expensive perfume, extremely, ridiculously expensive perfume. And, in verse 3, in verse 5, Judas says, "Why wasn't this perfume sold out and the money given to the poor? It was worth a year's wages." And that, by any standards, is a lot of money. So this is the most expensive offering that a person is going to give Jesus. And this woman gives it to Jesus. She pours perfume at her feet. One look at Jesus' face and that was enough. She knew she had to do this. You know, you can give the money, you can sell the perfume, and you can give the money to the poor. You have loads of money. There are so many good things you can do to give it to. But this woman wanted to do this for Jesus. She gave her very best, the best of the best that she could, because that much she wanted to be redeemed, and that much she wanted to show her affection for Jesus. There are so many things about offerings to the church, to Jesus, that we can talk about. People will always say a lot of things. Of course, I wouldn't say that you give a big gold cross to the church and underneath that cross you etch your name or your family's name underneath. No, that is not the expensive giving that I'm talking about. I'm talking about a giving where there is no trace of the giver afterwards. Perfume was poured down, the fragrance filled the house. That's it. And after that, we do not know who gave the perfume, whether the perfume is there. Nothing of that sort will remain 2 days later. The smell, everything will be gone. But Jesus says, for this act, she will be remembered. Judas says you could have given it to the poor. Yes, you could have given it to the poor. But it is not the fact that you took something away from the poor This is not about taking something away from what should have gone to the poor. This is about giving Jesus the very best place he deserves in your life. Prior place is given to Jesus over everything else. And when he comes into your life, you want to give him the very best of everything. It is like a renowned guest coming into your home, and you just want to treat that guest with utmost respect, with the greatest of love and affection you can, and you inevitably stock your larder with the best stuff. You cook the best dinner, you cook the best, all your snacks, everything is at its best. You lay down the best sheets on the bed. Your house is spick and span. Everything is done well. It's all clean. The best for Jesus. And that is just what this woman did. She gave her best. And Jesus said, she has anointed me. She has anointed me with the most expensive oil on earth. She has anointed me and prepared me for my death. As Jesus the man, she has anointed me so that I can become Jesus the Lord. What would you give to Jesus? How much are you prepared to give? I'm sure when Mary had brought this perfume to Jesus, had purchased this, I'm sure she would have had nothing left. Is that our mentality to give to Jesus? Or do we just, hold it back? I know a friend of mine who said that when the offertory bag comes in and he takes out his wallet, he doesn't search through it the way we do. He just looks at the wallet, sees the biggest